Perhaps this signpost is the only significant landmark left to identify Naka Phase 2. Homes and businesses that hitherto existed here now lay in ruins. Channels Television spoke with 47-year-old Teeso, a father of 5 who now sleeps in the open after his house was completely razed down. His brother, who witnessed it all, accused the army of threatening to kill him if he defies their order not to remove any of his belongings. As the NBA and its technical partners move through the ravaged town, owners of the burnt homes and food banks are seen salvaging whatever could still be useful, as hunger and starvation now stare them in the face. Both the NBA and the technical assessors agree that it was wrong to have harmed the alleged soldier, but the army went overboard to visit collective punishment on the people, especially when 5 suspects had already been arrested.
Actually, somebody was killed, and the Teeso, as we met him, got the suspects and took them to the Nigerian Army 72 Special Forces. Got the suspects. They had no business coming to visit any punishment on the community here.
So we intend to ensure that these people get justice by either going to court, setting up, impressing on the government to set up a commission of inquiry to investigate the causes of this invasion.
On the other side of town, the army delegation meets with the traditional ruler who presents his case against the army, as he is assured of an impartial investigation.
He told me very, very vehement and in strong terms that he's under intense pressure from the army headquarters to overrun Naka, if not because of my presence. He would have allowed it done so, but I said, but my people called me that troops are already in the town, in Phase 2 location, carrying out havoc. He did not say much, but said, well, it can't be his troops. He denies so faintly, but his countenance depicted of somebody who's guilty.
Both investigations running concurrently, victims of Naka invasion and the family of the alleged murdered soldier are looking forward to justice and compensation.
Well, retired Major Ibrahim Bantam is with us in the studio, and also is Dr. Sam Amadi, who is a former chairman of the NERC. Now, let's quickly ask you, Major Bantam, what were your thoughts when you heard those accusations by a former chief of army staff, being a former military person yourself?
Well, I would say I was shocked and surprised to hear such a claim by the person I consider to be the father of the army. He nurtured the army from the Civil War to date. And I would say every general today in the army is a product of the former chief. And considering also his position as a statesman, he has access to every authority, to the highest authority in this country. I wonder if he has attempted, to speak to the highest authority and fail. I wouldn't say no, and I cannot confirm that. But it's for him to condemn his institution in the public, it beats my imagination, really.
Do you ever think, having served in the military, that such an accusation could be true?
I don't think so, because today in Nigeria, the only institution that we have different ethnic nationality working together, like the armed forces, there is none. And I will tell you categorically that today it will be very difficult for any military officer to say he will take over a government, because one, politics has come in, ethnicity has come in, the trust, like Dr. Amadi said, has come in. There is no trust between ethnic groups. Nobody can come out and take a government for a ride. So what I'm saying here is, in every battalion, the smallest unit, you will find all the ethnic groups inside there. I wonder if they will connive, to destroy one of their colleagues' ethnic group. So I disagree totally with that.
Would you go with Dr. Amadi's recommendation that there should be a bipartisan commission to look into the allegations, other than or apart from what the Army itself has set up, which is like an internal investigation into those accusations?
Well, I think the Army has already commissioned one, except if you say an independent one should be commissioned. I will agree with that. But I think the Army is on the right step. But an independent commission may be more acceptable to the generality.
We saw over the weekend, I think it was on Friday, we saw the arrest of, I think was a head of the livestock guard in Benue State, announced by the military. They said he was a part, I don't know whether it's a part, that was the accusation.
They called him the mastermind.
Yes, of Boko Haram, and that he was the one masterminding the attacks in Benue. What did you think of that particular arrest? What did you make of it?
Yeah, well, I'm not surprised, because from what I have seen, even with the killing in the church, right now I've been told that some local youth have been arrested in connection with that.
We often talk a lot about the overreaction. We just saw the report, overreaction of the military, this tendency to instill fear amongst those populations or communities that have in any way impinged on their operations. When you look at that, the tendency to overreact, and you look at some of the good things that happen, how do you balance these issues? Because ultimately, if for example, the military is able to apprehend those who are killing our people, but then on the other side of it have this tendency to overreact, are they not, what effect do you think that's having?
Well, first, I think we should also be fair to the military and sympathize with them. We've not done this before. We've been used to fighting external enemies, apart from the Civil War, which was also external enemy because we classified ourselves as combatants. This is an internal process, an internal conflict that usually the police should have been more effectively dealing with. So the military has been exposed, overused. The military is overused. We are lucky that today there's no external aggression. We've always lived happily with our neighbors. Otherwise, we would have found ourselves really, really loose ends because the military is over-deployed across the country. That exposes them. That's number one. Two, they don't have the training to deal with. During the time of Francis, Chief of Defense Staff, we had a program for the military called Human Rights, Military and Human Rights. We went across all the military formations to mainstream human rights and civic engagement for the military. That's critical. They don't have those kind of training, and so we're going to see overreaction. So my idea is, look, we have to condone some of those as long as they're not excessive. That's number one. Number two is high level of transparency and accountability. Whenever the military is involved in what seems like civil operations, we saw in Abgrad, the crisis in Iraq, and the way the world wanted openness. That's the point we're making. Once you engage the military in civic engagements, like maintaining internal conflict, then you have to carry with you a responsibility of transparency, reporting what happened. So what we should expect for the military command now is that in these cases of excessive use of force, in this case of intrusive search, some people are complaining, churches complain that they came, and some people even allege military pulling down their houses and burning them. Those could be allegations, but you have to create a process in which these complaints can be ventilated and addressed very systematically.